Yeah. So thank you for joining. I want to start with the current
No problem.
$1 million question that
Okay.
is it right time to buy a property?
So I know that's a question a lot of buyers actually are asking. Even a lot of investors are also asking this question, and that is a really good question. The current housing market, it is causing some pain to current buyers in terms of the increasing prices, also as well as increasing the increase in the interest rates. So these concerns are definitely very common nowadays with all the buyers, whether we should wait or we should buy right now because of the market condition. But I would advise all the buyers one thing, like, can you look into your financial and come to a point where you can say, I have a good credit score, I have good amount which is good for ready for to pay the down payments as well as the closing cost, and are you comfortably able to pay that monthly mortgage plus taxes plus the insurance without having to compromise your routine life as well as personal and professional life? Then I would say you can definitely go ahead and buy it because you're going to buy it for yourself. And let's say one person buy today, how many chances they have? What are the chances they are going to sell it immediately in 1 to 2 years? Close to none,
Right.
right? So most of the buyers who actually buy the property for their own, they end up at least living in the same, either doesn't matter if it is a condo, it is a townhouse, single family or multifamily. They're gonna probably most likely end up staying in that house at least for 5 years, or sometime most of the time even 10 years, because when the
Right.
person buy it, they do look at all their current situation in terms of whether they have kids, whether they are going to which school, what is their location, what is their work location, in terms of the commute as well as the conveniency, right? So they do look at all those factors into perspective when they decide to buy it. So once they buy it, they're going to leave there. So I advise the buyers, if you're going to buy it for yourself and you can afford the mortgage interest, the mortgage payments, taxes, and the insurance, and having the down payment, you could definitely very well buy it. You're not going to go wrong with it because ultimately you are making an investment for future.
Okay. So I mean, you're saying self occupation, current market is good and anyone can buy right now. And
Yes,
also,
if it is for yourself, I would suggest them to buy it as long as you can afford it.
yeah, right. And even the rate of interest are high. Once the rate of interest comes down, they can definitely refinance and lower their EMI.
Absolutely, yes. Very, very good point. Yeah, so they can refinance anytime the rate goes down. That would basically get them the house right now, and also save on the interest rate down the road once the rate goes down.
What is the buying process to buy a home? So,
Okay. So yeah, that I usually whenever the first time I meet with the buyers, for the my first call with them is to basically go over that checklist, or go over the buyer consultation. So what I do is basically I go with them step by step process of what is the buying process involved and what they need to do in terms of getting ready. So I will go with those steps briefly with you, as well as if you have any questions, definitely feel free to chime in and let me know what that individual particular perspective looks like, particular steps looks like. So the first and foremost thing I advise the buyers to basically find out the realtor that they want to work with, right? So once they find out the realtor and they have the location where they would like to buy the property, uh, obviously realtor also can advise on different factors on where they can buy the property and good locations and everything. So first and foremost thing is to consult with the realtor. So what the realtor do is they basically screen you through the preliminary steps, where they basically ask a general question like, do how much down payment they are planning to put, how much, what is their credit score like, and obviously, do they have any lenders that they are working on? Do they currently have looked at different houses that are available in the market, and what are their priorities? So basically, realtor is going to ask them the bunch of question where they can narrow down how to guide the buyer. So
Does a realtor is based on the location as well? Like, particularly if any area I'm looking, so
mhm.
based on that, the realtor will change or the realtor will remain same.
So realtor, let's say I have license in New Jersey. So basically, I'm good to pretty good to work pretty much entire New Jersey. But am I
Okay.
going to work in the entire New Jersey? No,
Oh,
because I have my own limitations in terms of what basic area I serve, right? Because if you ask me if I go like further down in the Glassboro or like Red Bank area, I don't
okay.
serve those areas
Okay.
because I my mostly main concentration of area is the Middlesex County, Central Jersey. I also
Okay.
go in the North Jersey to some portion of the Passaic County and all. And I also go to further south where like the Monmouth County and the Mercer counties as well.
Okay.
So realtor is basically most of the time they are local. They know the local market. They know
Oh,
which
yes.
area they serve, and they are the best friend to help you out to navigate in this entire process.
All right. So you're saying before finalizing the realtor, one should finalize the location.
Yes, so they should have
So
to have they don't need to finalize location. At least they should have to have a basic idea of what are their requirements,
requirements.
right?
Okay.
So they should start with that, and they should basically start with that and then start exploring with the realtor in terms of not immediately start seeing the houses. In terms of once they do that consultation, initial consultation, they would be able to provide their requirement, and the realtor going to provide their feedback on that, and obviously suggest some other things which could be beneficial for the buyers, which probably they don't know. uh, so they basically can come to like some kind of narrow down search where what could be the good areas they need to focus on. What
Okay.
is their budget? What is their budget? That's the biggest question, right? So
Okay.
what is their budget? In which budget range they are looking to buy a house? Are they, whether they're looking to buy a condominium, townhouse, whether they're looking to
Okay.
buy a single family, multifamily, depend, and obviously how many bedrooms, bathrooms, and those
Right.
kind of situation, right? And
Oh,
some family are like just two-person in the family. Some have like kids with where there is
okay.
like 4 or 5, and some have like a big family where
Right.
there are mother, uh, father, and mothers, along with even
Okay.
in-laws living with them.
Okay. So the budget is the one thing. Then you are saying the work location and the school. School is also a big criteria while finalizing the property. Any other
Absolutely.
criteria one should look to
So
while
neighborhood,
finalizing the property?
yeah, one of the other criteria is the neighborhood, how comfortable they are living in that neighborhood, and uh, that basically that pretty much is basically the schools, their commute, the conveniency, like
Right.
the day-to-day groceries and stuff like that,
Right.
easy access to the highways and the train stations. Obviously, it's going to be a good plus.
Okay. Okay. Great. So these are the things. Tell me one thing. Uh, can one approve their loan before finalizing the property?
Absolutely, yes. So the next step comes in the buying process would be to basically the realtor gonna advise if you have the mortgage lender which they are working with. If they don't, then obviously they can recommend some. And if they want to work with their own lender, which they have already get it maybe referral from some of the friends, family, so they should obviously, and I would advise all the buyers to make sure and go with the lender, mortgage lender, either the broker or the direct bank, and to give them all the documentation, including their pay stubs, the tax returns, how much amount they have in the bank, and what are their, obviously give their social and other further credential. Obviously, once they run the credit query, the credit score is going to go drop maybe like 2 3 points, but that's drop in the points will be good for another maybe 90 days, and 90 days the credit score
Okay.
going to come up again. So a lot of time, when I ask the buyers, did you check with the lender, they say I don't want to check with the lender because once they check it, the credit score going to drop. I said, but that's the first thing that you need in order to buy the house, right?
Right.
If you don't know what you are getting into, then what good is the credit score, right?
Right.
So it's just a random number, right? So basically, they need to figure out with the lender how much, what is how much amount of house they can afford in terms of their debt to income ratio, right?
Right.
Right, so that's the most important thing. And sometime buyers comes, and they ask me, hey, I like this house and I want to go for this, but when I ask them to check with the lender, the house is 600,000 but they are only qualified for 500,000 worth of house.
Right.
So then all the exercise goes to the drain. So better, first and foremost thing, yeah, after consulting with the realtor, they should check with the mortgage lender or the broker that how much they are qualified to get the house, and get the pre-approval and send that pre-approval to their realtor,
Okay.
right?
Okay. So just
And
let's discuss one more thing here. That
mhm.
you're saying broker and the lender. Okay, what are the difference between the lender and broker, and what are the benefits actually going through the lender or the brokerage firm?
So brokerage is basically the mortgage broker. They work with the different lenders,
Okay,
uh, all different lenders, like Rocket Mortgage, the and the like Bank of America, Chase, the Columbia Bank, or even
right,
the, and when the third party lender who are financial institution, and they are providing the money to the buyers towards buying a house. So the mortgage broker gonna find the different rates from the different lenders, and mortgage broker gonna give the buyers whatever the best case scenario in terms of the rates from the different lenders.
okay,
So the mortgage broker has an advantage of possibly getting a good rates, but they don't control the entire lending.
right,
Mortgage broker, they don't have a control over the lender in terms of, when the mortgage broker says, hey, provide this many document, X number of documents, but you start the application process, but the lender has their own different policy in terms of giving the mortgage. So
right,
when they start the process, mortgage broker doesn't know how many different documents they would require, but most of the time it's okay. But sometimes they do get surprises of additional requirement from that different particular lender.
right. So
Which,
there could be some standardized documents, and there
yeah,
could be some additional documents depending on
additional,
the work history or the uh, how many years the borrower or the customer is staying in United States. Based on the other things,
right?
probably the additional document may require. Okay. The
Yes, may
only
require.
advantage is going with the broker is you get the multiple options and you come to know what is the best rate you can go get.
Right. So that's about the mortgage broker. Now, when I go to the direct lending institution, let's say it's a Columbia Bank, Chase Bank, or AnnieMac, or any other direct lender who do control the entire lending within their own work area. So if you go to them, they do again go through all this first checklist, and they basically let you know upfront what all you will need. So you basically have a headway ahead that what all you will need in terms of getting your mortgage approved. Um, it's possible that you might not get the best rate, but once the lending institution gives you the pre-approval, it's kind of confirmed that as long as no other changes happen to your financial situation, you're gonna get the mortgage for that
And
house.
what is the validity of the loan approval? I
So
mean,
the loan approval, pre-approval usually valid for 60 to 90 days, depend on the
okay.
lender, right?
Oh, okay.
And again, once it expire, obviously you can still submit that pre-approval while submitting an offer through the realtor, but you probably gonna have to get it ready in terms of revising the pre-approval with the current date.
And does it help, suppose if I pre-approve my loan
Mm-hmm.
and I search for the property, does it help me to negotiate the deal? Because I already have the approval and, the seller will think of me because, my loan approval is ready and he can get the money. Or, I mean, the seller can get the money uh, soon compared to the other buyers.
So obviously pre-approval is the first thing you need. You definitely need a pre-approval when you want to submit an offer.
Okay.
Without submitting a pre-approval, without pre-approval, if you submit an offer, they're gonna look at your offer, but they're not gonna be serious about your offer,
Okay. Okay.
right? So let's say I'm the seller and I have three offers. One is without the pre-approval, one is with the mortgage, and one is the cash, right? So
Mm.
which offer will give me more confidence, right? Would be
Okay.
cash or mortgage, but depends on the uh, different terms and conditions of the offer. So I'm not going to choose the person who does not have the pre-approval, right?
Okay.
Because
Right.
in order to buy a property, there are three things. The buyer has to be able, willing, and qualified,
Okay.
right? So those three things are must have to have in terms of seller to motivate to choose that buyer,
Okay. Right. Right.
right? Otherwise, the seller would not get that confident to choose that buyer, and will not have confidence that this buyer would perform till the closing. So pre-approval, I would strongly suggest get it as soon as possible.
Okay. And here in US, the realtor plays very important role while buying a
Yes,
property. Is
absolutely.
it possible that one can go without realtor or going with realtor? What is the difference and what are the benefits actually?
So the realtor is basically your go-to guy for the real estate transaction, where he or she can advise you each different steps of the process, because buying a real estate in United States is not one, two, three, because it involves multiple steps from attorney review. From first thing is getting the negotiation to get your offers accepted, then once the offer get accepted, then it goes to the attorney review. Once the attorney review is completed, then it goes to inspection, then the appraisal, then the title, then the mortgage commitment, and then clear to close, the walkthrough.
Okay.
And all these steps, you will have one or the other things during the transaction where you will need the help from the realtor in order
Okay.
to guide you throughout the entire process. So definitely realtor is your go-to guy. Obviously, you can buy it on your own, but 99 statistics suggest that 95% of the transactions that are happening are through the realtor. Even some of the sellers, they try to sell it on, they end up selling through the realtor
Oh,
because they are not aware of the entire process sometime, and they do get backfire when they try to sell on their own. And actually a lot of time they end up getting less money when they try to sell their own, even though and instead of going through the realtor where they have to pay the commission, they end up getting more money even though after paying the commission. So it's
yeah.
strongly advisable for buyers and sellers to go through the realtor so that they get their best. They are the best advocate for their interest, their best interest for the real estate
They are the
transaction.
one can get the best deal for the both buyer and seller, you can
Buyer
say.
and seller, yes, they are their best advocate, I would say, in terms of safeguarding their interest, whether they are buying or selling.
And how one can select a realtor? I mean, what are the qualities one should look that a realtor is working in, not in favor, I can say, but best of both. Like ultimately, win-win situation should be both for both
Right,
uh,
right.
realtor as well as buyer or seller. So,
Hmm.
what qualities one should look?
So I would suggest, if you're buying or selling, obviously nowadays everything is digitally available. People, even though they are going to the restaurant, they look at the reviews of the restaurant, right? Even though they are spending just $50 of their 50 or $100, they are going through the review and they just want to make sure that it's a good restaurant, right? You go
Yeah,
to the Yelp. But when you're dealing with the real estate transaction, which is the biggest investment of your life, whether you are buying or selling, obviously you want to go with good reviews first and foremost. So basically, look for the reviews, either the Google, Facebook, or nowadays Google, Facebook, or Zillow, right?
right.
So go to those are your go-to guide and look for the reviews, what they have sold in the past, what is their experience, right? Sometimes also people do get word of mouth referral from the person who have already helped somebody. So from friends and families, if they have good experience working with their own real estate transaction with any realtor, obviously the word of mouth is also a good source where you get the good reference from your friends and family. And I would suggest you can also interview your realtor, like even though you are buying or selling, you can say, hey, I want to buy now. Nowadays I'm going to go through it, or if you need, we might set up another recording or podcast for that
Mhm.
section, which is a new requirement for the buyers to sign a buyer's agency agreement with the realtor
Okay.
going forward from August 17. So that is something new. I can go over briefly. Basically, the buyer's agency agreement from August 16, the NAR, National Association of Realtor, they have made a settlement agreement where the new requirement, the which all the realtor have to follow, is that they would not be displaying the buyer's agency commission on the MLS. Also, any buyer's agent who would work with any buyers to show the house, they would have to sign an agreement before even touring the house or showing them a
Okay.
house. So, which
Okay.
is not the requirement right now, but it's coming in a month time frame. So, I would suggest that, yeah, look, do your due diligence, talk to them, and ask the questions, ask them as many questions as possible, that how you're going to guide, how, what are their requirements, how they can prepare, and do your due diligence and select the best realtor which you feel comfortable working with. Because real estate
Okay.
transaction, once you start working with the realtor, if you're buying in this market, it might not happen in 1 month, it might not happen in 2 months, it might take another 6 months or 12, the whole year, or 1 year or 2 years. But if you get the confident of working with that realtor, you're gonna stick with them on and follow their leads, right? And if you are selling the house, obviously you want to make sure that this realtor would help you sell the house with the in the least amount of time with the most amount of money.
And in between, suppose if I'm not able to work with the realtor, we are not able to, come to the same page, come on the same page to work together. So, what are the situation like? I can back out, or I can go to another realtor. Is it possible?
So obviously, if you sign an agreement with the realtor, like as a buyer's agency agreement or the listing agreement, obviously, if you're not comfortable working with them, if you're not happy with their service, obviously, go ahead and talk to them and talk about what are their feedback,
Expectations.
what are their feedbacks, and if you're not happy, you can simply ask to terminate the contract.
Okay.
um, and then I would, most of the time, they it's possible that they do look at the condition and the feedback holistically instead of going into
Just
fighting. But yes,
terminating.
but you might end up sometime getting into some bitter fight as well. So you have to be ready for that.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
There are a lot of immigrants come on H-1B visa and they buy house. So if they decide to move back again to India or their home country, then
Mm-hmm.
how they can manage their home? I mean, they don't want to sell the property, but
Mm-hmm.
can they keep the property, and how one can manage the property from foreign country?
So there are two options. One, they can manage the property on their own as long as they own the property, obviously, but they have to have the hassle of dealing with the phone call during the daytime, where if they are overseas, it's nighttime. They don't want to, excuse me, God forbid something happens, and if they would not be able to pick up the call or something like that, then there would be a bigger issue. So I would advise, if they are living overseas, I would strongly advise them to hire a property management company who can manage their property on the behalf of the owner. So they will have a peace of mind in case of any emergencies, any repair request, or anything breakdown. The property management company does handle anything and everything about the rental property.
Okay, okay. And do you recommend rental property as an investment? I asked this question to the financial advisor as well. But I want
Hmm.
to understand from your point of view as a realtor, is it a rental property a good investment?
Rental property is a good investment if you want to hold it for at least 10 years.
Okay,
Okay. If you're planning to sell in like couple of years, I mean, you would be not building in enough equity, or you would be paying an additional closing cost or things like that. But if you're holding for 10 years, 15 years, or even more than that, what would end up happening is, let's say you buy the property today at 200,000, you put it on the market for rental, and you're getting the mortgage and interest, obviously sometime also the taxes paid
correct.
through the rent that you're getting from the tenants. So once you pay the down payment, most of the time your overheads are almost zero, or sometimes some cases you might have to pay some extra cost to keep it moving, but your major chunk of money is taken care of by the tenant,
Okay,
right? So that money that the tenant is keep paying, let's say you have it rented out for 10 years, then all those years, whatever the equity you have built it into that property, are basically your return on your investment.
okay. But typically, what is the break-even period in rental property investment? I mean, you are saying 10 years you can make good amount of money. But if I see a no profit, no loss, what is the break-even point? I mean, and how many years I can achieve that?
So that break-even point, I would say, it depend on it's the length of your mortgage.
Okay,
In a nutshell, it's the length of your mortgage, and that's your break-even point. That yes, all your mortgage has been paid off, and now that property is totally free of any
okay,
overheads. Until then, you still need to rent it out so that you don't have to pay out of your pocket. And if you are not comfortable dealing with the tenants and the the inconvenience of getting the calls anytime during the day, anytime, even the weekends or anything, then you can definitely sell it, and
correct.
basically worry free. But obviously, it has pros and cons, right? The rental property, it's good that down the road, let's say you buy the property 200K, and down the road in another 10 years, it will appraise to 350 or 400K. Obviously, that's a good
Okay,
appraisal, value, good equity value. You can even get uh, you can refinance the loan and get the equity out of your rental property, use it somewhere else as well, that money.
Okay, okay. Because why I asked this question, there are a lot of people who are holding cash, maybe
Hmm.
200K, 300K. They may
Hmm.
be earning around 4 to 5% interest on that.
Right, right.
So they can, I mean, without a mortgage, they can deploy this cash in rental property.
Hmm.
So, so what will be the ROI they can expect in rental property?
So the ROI should be, the cap rate should be at least between 6 to 7%.
Okay, 6 to 7%,
Yeah, that's
the
the standard
ROI.
cap rate. Yes.
Post taxes?
Everything,
Okay, okay.
everything. That then it's a good return on investment.
Okay,
But
right.
I have seen by some people taking less return on investment just because their money is sitting there and they just want to buy the property, and something solid. Real estate is something real, right? You cannot steal, you cannot
Yeah,
move. It's real.
yes.
It's
Right.
no virtual currency or anything. So it's like solid. So a lot of people like it, even though it's less return, they keep
Yeah.
it for longer period, and then the appreciation value is what they're gonna get down the road.
Okay, okay. Great, great.
Yeah, and all this process, I know you mentioned, I want to go back on your buying process
Mm, mm.
where we just ended up with the lender, but I want to, if you have time, I want to walk you through the entire
Sure,
process.
sure.
So, how does it work is basically once you have the pre-approval in place, you have the realtor identified. I would also advise the buyers to have the attorney ready. So if they want to, if they're planning to hire an attorney for the real estate transaction. So in Central Jersey, North Jersey, even further south, a lot of people, most of the people hiring the real estate attorney. However, it's not mandatory to hire an attorney. Um, you can have the title company do the entire work as well, but the attorney comes into play to basically safeguard all your legal rights.
Okay,
So, if you are deciding to have an attorney, have the attorney ready when the moment comes of or offer getting accepted, so that once the offer get accepted, you are not strangling to find an attorney, because this is the market we live in with the seller market. If your offer get accepted, tomorrow somebody else put a higher offer, you have a chances of getting losing that house altogether. So you
okay,
definitely don't want to wait even a single day in this market. So once you work with the realtor, you like the house, you toured the house, everything works out in terms of your schooling for the kids, in terms of the commute, in terms of the conveniency, the neighborhood, everything you like it, then basically you are ready to put an offer. So your realtor gonna work with the listing agent. They're gonna try to basically see what the market situation is with that particular house and get the feedback. And they're gonna advise you, hey, this is the current market. This is what you're gonna if you want this house, this is what it would be. Obviously, it's up to the buyer if they're not comfortable with the price or the for the house that or the offer amount that goes into bidding war, they can still put whatever the offer they are comfortable. So I advise all my buyers to basically put an offer where they can, once they put an offer and once that offer get accepted, they get a peace of mind and a good sleep over the night.
okay, okay.
I don't advise the buyers to put an offer and worry it about later, right?
Right.
Because that's not a good decision. So if you put an offer, make sure you're comfortable and you can afford that amount monthly payment, then definitely go for it. So once they put an offer, let's say offer get accepted with the terms and conditions, best terms and conditions nowadays in the current market, buyers are waiving a lot of terms in terms of the inspections for any minor issues, in terms of the appraisal gap or the complete appraisal, and some credit towards the repair, and so on and so forth. So there are different terms where different terms in the offers. Obviously, not not just the number makes the difference in terms of your offer getting accepted. It's the whole holistic package where you have to have a good offer, showing a very highly interested buyers looking for that house. So once the offer get accepted, it goes to your attorneys, seller, it goes to seller's attorney and the buyer's attorney. Buyer's attorneys and seller's attorneys. Buyer's attorney is going to write the rider. They send it out across the seller's attorney. They're going to work on the terms and conditions and discuss with their clients. As long as they are okay, they can sign off on the attorney review. So
Okay.
in New Jersey, there is an attorney review period, and during the attorney review period, either the buyer or the seller have the right to back out from the what they have accepted.
Okay.
So either party, with reason, without reason, can get out of the contract during the attorney review without any penalties,
Okay.
right? But once the attorney review concluded, then it has to have a good cause in order to terminate the contract,
Okay.
right? So once the attorney review is finalized, then the you goes under contract, and the first and foremost thing is the buyer has to pay whatever the earnest money they have committed to the escrow account, whether the buyer's attorney account or the seller's account. Once they pay the escrow amount, basically the realtor gonna they can call the different inspectors, make sure what inspections they're gonna orders. That is also one thing where they need the realtors have what kind of inspection this particular house require. It could be radon. You might need a radon inspection. You need a general inspection. You might need a sewer scope inspection. You might need an oil tank inspection. You might need a termite inspection. So definitely that is something that you must discuss with your realtor before confirming what inspections are going to be ordered. So once you order the inspector going to come out, inspect the property, provide you a report with whatever the major concerns, minor concerns, and then you go from there and request a repair request through your attorney, what all the repairs you are requesting from the sellers. And from that point onwards, the sellers basically come back with accepting all the repairs or accepting some repairs or accepting none, right? Depend on that. And then from that point onwards, you basically negotiate. That's where also realtors comes into play, where they can work with the listing agent in terms of certain important repairs to be fixed and addressed. And once the inspection contingency is concluded from both the sides, the buyers is okay, sellers are okay to do whatever the repair or not do repair, then you go to the next step where the lender gonna basically order your appraisal.
Okay.
So when you go under contract, also simultaneously you should start your mortgage application.
Okay.
All right. So once the inspection contingency is concluded, then the lender is gonna order the appraisal on the property, and once the appraisal report comes out, whether it's appraised to the value of the appraised to the contract price, whether it's over appraised or under appraised. So let's say you have waived the inspection contingency, appraisal contingency to, let's say, 5,000, 10,000, or you have waived it completely, you will have to come up with the additional appraisal gap to the closing to close that house. So in general terms, let's say the contract price is 300,000, the appraisal came out to be 290. You have two options. You can negotiate with the seller to reduce the price of the house to 290, and it's up to the seller whether they accept it or not. If the seller says,
Okay.
okay, I will reduce the 290, then it's good. You are in luck. But in this market, most of the seller don't accept the reduction
Okay.
of the to the appraised value. Most of them are asking to basically uh, come up with the appraisal cap. So um, at the time of closing, you would have to come up with, either if you have committed 20% in down payment, so that 20% down payment plus the closing cost plus the 10,000 gap between the appraisal
Okay.
and the contract price, right? So hope that makes sense to you.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, right. So basically, once that appraisal contingency is concluded, um, buyers, sellers again agree, attorneys agree, then the attorney have probably will order the title for the property, and the title work will be done in like 10 days period. Once the title comes in, simultaneously you will also have probably the mortgage commitment from the lender if none of your financial situation has been changed. So once you get the mortgage commitment, the title is clear. Any last formalities that attorneys, title companies, and the mortgage lender has to be fulfilled, they will do it and give you a clear to close. During this process, let's say if it is single family house, I would advise the buyers to order the survey of the property as well, where they will know the property line, where the property line is. They will also know from the survey if there are any easement on the property, if there are any encroachment of the property. So those certain things will be they will be able to find out from the survey. So
Okay.
anything comes red flag in the surveys, obviously before the closing, you want to make sure that it's resolved and you are comfortable with it. Right.
Okay.
So once you get the clear to close, then you basically come to the closing table and then sign all the paperwork through. They come with the down payment check and whatever the amount they suggest, and then sign up the paper, and then boom, that's your big day for the closing.
Okay.
So that's
That's
the closing
great.
process. But I
Yeah.
mean, during this entire process, I mean, this is a brief discussion, but this process involves a lot of further details on what different circumstances, different problems comes into
Right.
play. So at that, and all this process is very complicated, and where you need help with the realtor.
So that's the reason realtors plays very important role in
Very important, very crucial role.
yeah.
Even realtor is crucial. They even can they can reach out to the mortgage lender, they can reach out to a title company, they can reach out to the attorney and the buyer. So
Okay.
it's a center point. Realtor is a center point of the entire transaction for the real estate.
Okay. Okay. Great. Typically, how many days it requires to complete the transaction? Suppose if I finalize the property till I get
Mhm.
the possession or the closing,
So
if everything is good,
right. So
there are
everything
no.
is good. You can nowadays, I have closed transaction in as less as 30 days, even less than 30 days. And let's say if the seller has different preference of closing in 60 days. So typically, I would say 45 days is the ideal time. 30 days is little aggressive, but we do get it done. But
Okay.
45 days to 60 days is the ideal time.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to come to again this rental property thing. There is a lot
Mhm.
of buzz of Airbnb properties.
Okay.
So, what is the better option, do you see? The Airbnb property or the rental property?
So with the Airbnb, I know it sound very good, right? So the and when you look up the Airbnb properties, excuse me, you have to make sure wherever you are buying the Airbnb property, those are called short-term rentals. You have to make
Right,
sure that you will be able to rent on a short-term rental.
right,
Okay, some condominiums, some properties, certain locations, they have a restriction of you cannot rent on a short-term rental.
okay,
All right. Certain condominiums, even they have a restriction of uh, once once the buyer buy the property, they cannot even rent it out. Doesn't matter short-term or long-term rental. They have to stay certain period of years, let's say 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years in that property as a primary residence before they even rent out to the other tenants out there. So, to coming back to your question of a short-term rental versus long-term rental, first and foremost thing is to find out about that particular property if there are any rental restriction. That is the first and
Okay.
foremost thing they need to find out. Once they find out, the short-term rentals obviously has advantages and disadvantages. Um, it's not a guaranteed income, first thing,
Okay.
right? And you do have better return um, sometime, but it's not a guaranteed return. You might have
Okay.
some time a period
Fluctuations you
of,
may find.
yes, you have to consider those factors, and obviously the location is the most important part of that
Yes.
consideration, right? So you have to figure out that the property that you're buying is, what are the chances of being it vacated for how many days,
Right.
right? And then what are the rental in that area, and if that rental is justifying the purchase price of that rental property, right?
Okay.
And obviously you have to carry the insurance for any damages or anything like that. And the short-term rentals comes with a lot of demand in terms of managing the property compared to the long-term rental, where short-term rentals, you have to basically be on your toe. If you are managing, or if you have given to some property management company, they are doing it. But it's like you have to feed all the data to your prospective uh,
Buyers.
by
Sorry, the tenants or
tenants
the
coming, right?
the
Feed the data, feed the
occupants.
information, provide all. It's like basically you have to market that property, right?
Right. Right.
Every now and then. Whereas the long-term rental, obviously the amount of return may be little less, but it's guaranteed income,
Okay. Okay.
right? With the less
Headache.
managing, less management,
Okay. Yeah.
right? Whereas the Airbnb comes with a lot of a high demand of management, and the long-term rental does not require a lot of management. So it
Right.
has its pros and cons.
Okay.
But I do have clients who have owned the property in like Luray Cave, Manhattan.
Okay.
Also, obviously, I've helped them in the New Jersey part, but they do Airbnb a lot, and they are happy with it. So I would
Okay.
not advise that Airbnb is bad or the long-term rental is bad. It depends. It's a case-by-case basis. One has to do a good due diligence in terms of making a decision.
So location is the prime criteria to
Yes, I
if you
mean,
want to go for Airbnb.
yeah, Airbnb definitely prime location is the definitely your go-to guy, and then in generally real estate transaction, any real estate transaction, location is the most important piece.
Okay.
But Airbnb in itself has a different criteria of selecting the location.
Okay. So long-term rental is more of a passive income kind of thing. Once you
Yes,
buy the property, automatically the rentals will come, and the maintenance and everything will be taken care. Right?
yes. I mean, obviously, you have to take care, or you have to hire some company to take care.
Right.
But
Right.
it involves a lot less management compared to
The
Airbnb short-term
Airbnb.
rentals.
Okay. Yeah. That's good.
Yes.
Okay. I want to talk now from the seller's point of view also.
Mm-hmm.
How a seller can get a best deal on its house. I mean, how every seller wants to sell at a very good price.
Right. Obviously, right.
So, so how one can get the best price?
So there are a lot of different criterias comes into play when somebody needs the best price of their property. First thing is, I would advise all the sellers when they're living in the house, make sure they do take care of their house first
Okay.
and foremost, right? Whether they are selling now, whether they are selling in 5 years or 10 years, if they find problems in the house, if there is the gutter issue, if there is the plumbing issue, if there is electrical issue, appliance issue, I would advise, as long as there is no financial hardship or something, make sure you take care of your house like a baby,
Okay.
right? Because if you take care of your house, it's going to go very long way, because there are two things: you don't take care or don't maintain your house, and when you try to sell, you have to do all that expense at once.
Okay.
Second thing is, if you keep maintaining on a routine pace year to year and keep it up to date conditions, when you want to sell it, it's ready, plug and play, right?
Right.
And obviously, certain period of time, if you think that certain things needs an upgrade, I would advise sellers to do the necessary upgrades in the house, because today the kitchen cabinets and the countertops are the latest design, but coming 10 years, it is an old style, right?
You're right.
So you have to take a look at that perspective. When you're trying to sell, the buyers coming at that time frame will be looking for something modern, something current trend, or things like that. Even the colors, the countertops, the cabinets, the bathrooms, um, even the yard. There are a lot of different factors when you try to sell the house. Make sure it's maintained appropriately, and it has good upgrades, necessary upgrades, and up to the current trend. If you don't
Okay.
have it, it's still not a big deal. But at least as long as you have maintained and there are no major issues in the house, you're still gonna get a good price based
Okay.
on what upgrades you have, right? But if you have fantastically done the upgrades of the house over a period of time, you're gonna get the value out of those upgrades for sure,
Okay.
because buyers do realize that the amount of work that you put in, and that goes a very long way. So that is the most important things I advise all the sellers to keep that in mind, to in order to get the best price. Right now, the second portion is the selling portion, right? So in
Right.
order to get the best price of their house, obviously they need to find a good realtors who can help them achieve their goals with selling the house at the best price in the short amount of
Right.
time, by looking at what are they offering in terms of selling the house. Are they looking to
Right.
do into professional photography? Are they looking to do the staging of the house? Because and then taking the photography, or they are not doing the staging and just selling with the photography? They are what kind of open houses they are holding? What kind of marketing material they have? Are they doing the social media marketing? Are they doing email marketing? Are they doing the postcard mail marketing? So when it comes to selling the house, you have to find a realtor who has all those elements in order to get you best price of this the house. Um, some people do think that, oh, you don't need the staging, but I do staging of all my listings, where whenever the buyers enter the house, they do get a feeling of the house. They do get the good vibe of the house, and that goes a long way,
Right.
because when you have the house staged and professionally photographed, it goes a long way. Even though it does have some expense, but eventually you're gonna get the money out of it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So the realtor and the renovation part you're saying, basically renovation in the sense your house should be a proper functional and with the modern amenities you're saying,
Yes,
like
but
kitchen
not
cabinet.
necessarily modern amenities, but at least you continue to maintain in a good
Okay.
standard,
Yes.
right?
Okay. Good.
Let's say if I'm a buyer and I go into the property which hasn't been maintained for last 10, 15 years, chances of buyers going to give me a good price are very less,
All right.
because it requires X number of upgrades, like 50,000, 100,000 upgrades. Obviously, they can put an offer, but they could go on a low ball than what their current market of that particular house. So the same kind, same size, same type house, one is upgraded, one is not upgraded on the same street or the same neighborhood. Obviously, the one with the upgrades and everything gonna get the best price compared to the one which requires a lot of work. where buyer have to put in extra money after they buy the house.
Okay, perfect. So we'll stop here.
Thank you so much for
Thank
this
you very much for
opportunity.
your time.
Yes, and I will be available again in the future if you need for anything, any real estate questions from your prospective audience. I would be here to help.
Thank you very much. Thank you.